Victims' hearts raw scarred. Judges grinning, deals in shadows locked. Caseworkers speaking truth they've mocked. Gunning on for justice, rage intense. Bringing kids home from this broken fence. Corruption weighs heavy, laws collapse. Kids go missing behind their maps. CPS stealing kids, no trace. Lies build walls, the truth they erase. Gunners howl, cuts through the air. He won't stop midnight, he'll get there. Dark hallways where the guilty play. Secrets hiding, hope fades away. A man with fire, voice like a storm. Breaking chains, reform, transform. Gunning on for justice, rage intense. Bringing kids home from this broken fence. Corruption weighs heavy, laws collapse. Kids go missing behind their maps. Family shattered, cries dulled by fights. CPS takes them in the dead of night. But Gunner speaks of brighter days, cut through the lies. Light a blaze! Cries dulled by fights. CPS takes them in the dead of night.
I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gotta be biblical.
Behind their maps. Cries in the night, tearing through the haze. Kids lost screaming in the system's maze. Lies unfold behind paper-thin walls. Stealing hope, ripping dreams, all the calls. Gunning for justice, we won't back down. Fighting for the lost in every broken town. Judges blind, caseworkers turn their eyes. Lift your fist, scream, their lies won't paralyze. Families they shatter with the stroke of a pen. Truth buried deep, oh here we go again. Gunner's voice pounding, raising up the fight. Justice ain't a whisper, it's a battle tonight. Gunning for justice, we won't back down. Fighting for the lost in every broken town. Judges
man must have unrestricted right to own and use personal weapons in the defense of his family, his home, and his own person against any kind of marauder, whether the marauder be a soldier of an invading army, an agent of an internal political conspiracy, or a common criminal. It is probably no exaggeration to say that an American citizenry, well armed with personal firearms and possessing the knowledge to use them effectively and properly, would provide more defense against invasion by a foreign enemy or against internal attempt to seize power than all of the national defense which President Johnson plans to buy with $51,200,000,000 tax dollars in the next fiscal year. Our forefathers believed that a citizen's right to keep and bear arms free from federal restriction was basic and inalienable. A free man must have unrestricted right to own and use personal weapons in the defense of his family, his home, and his own person against any kind of marauder, whether the marauder be a soldier of an invading army, an agent of an internal political conspiracy, or a common criminal. It is probably no exaggeration to say that an American citizenry, well armed with personal firearms and possessing the knowledge to use them effectively and properly, would provide more defense against invasion.
Corruption crawls, spreading like a fire. But passion burns out of crawling up higher, crawling up higher. The system ain't ready for the storm that's us. One by one, we're breaking their rules. Oh!
Hello? Hello? Yes. Hey, we're from CPS. We want to come in. We got a report. We need to come in and inspect your house and your children. The state said we could come in, so we're coming in. Hold on now. That's not going to work. Why? Do you have a warrant or a court order? Signed by a judge, properly stamped? Who gave probable cause to say that that was legit to come in with first-person experience? No? Well, we're coming in because the state said we can come in. Now we've got a problem. Hey, guys, this is Gunner with this. Welcome to another edition of Gunning for CPS. We've got a great show for you tonight. There's a bunch of stuff out there that's coming in. The information is flowing like crazy. Things are going on that a lot of people still don't understand that's going on. It's an amazing thing. But we're going to tie this all together, especially with CPS and everything else that's going on in our country and everything else. What better night to talk about one particular thing? And we're going to get here to we're going to take and do a little video here, and you guys are going to say, and it goes about the topics of this, but guys, I want you to watch this video and pay attention, and I'm sure you'll guess what the topic is for tonight.
5 signs you're being manipulated. Number 1. They make you feel guilty all the time. Manipulators often use guilt to control others. If you consistently feel guilty or responsible for someone else's actions or emotions, it may be a sign of manipulation. Number 2. Gaslighting. Gaslighting involves making you doubt your own thoughts, feelings, or memories. If you find yourself questioning reality or feeling confused about events, it might be a form of manipulation. Number 3. They always play the victim. Manipulators may portray themselves as victims to gain sympathy and control. If the person consistently blames others for their problems and avoids taking responsibility, it's a red flag. Number 4, they find every reason to criticize you. Manipulators may use constant criticism to break down your confidence. If you feel like nothing you do is ever good enough, it could be a tactic to control and manipulate. Number 5, they go to great lengths to isolate you. Manipulators may try to isolate you from friends and family to increase their control. If someone actively discourages or prevents you from spending time with loved ones, it's a concerning sign. Drop a yes if you agree with me and leave a comment about the sign you have gone through below.
Guys, welcome again. Miss Sharon to the show.
Hey, everybody.
So our topic for this evening, and I thought that was a great video that you picked out for that, is about manipulation. And we've seen a lot of manipulation we've been going through in the country, but bringing it down to this is such a great topic for you and I to discuss. And most people don't understand this is what we usually do when we're home alone and just nobody's there, and we're both going down rabbit holes, and we have these constant conversations. So sometimes with what we have that you guys see now is going, wow, it works for, yeah, because we communicate with each other and we run down the rabbit holes together, because, you know, we'll draw from our different experiences or different education. Hey, what about this? Well, what about, and we can have open discussion. So we can actually tackle some of the tough topics that most people, like we had dealt with on I had dealt with on another show that burned a lot of bridges with something, or you know, got a lot of people fired up about men and women, and that it took real men to raise boys and to become other real men, the same way it would take a lady to teach a young girl how to become a woman and then how to become a lady. Mm-hmm. Those are the things we have been passed on over and over again. And I get a lot of the single moms just go, no, I was mom, I was dad, I'm everything to my child and everything. Let me explain this. Maybe you are now, but the other thing you don't have right now that you don't see, as I do, say older, or that even Sharon does, is that changes as they evolve and they grow up. And there's a need for that. And the other thing that we pointed out, I think Spanny was on there, that turned around and said, and when I said something, I said, but at the same time, if they're not there, the concept is you're always looking for a male role model. I mean, you know, with the situation we've gone through, I mean, you can understand that because we've been separated due to the fact of what CPS has corruptly done, illegal and unconstitutionally done, to tear that out, that now that's missing. I mean, you saw that when it came in, and now it's missing again. I mean, how much of a struggle is that? I guess, you know, and that's a forced manipulation of, I guess in a way, it's a forced manipulation because now they're messing with you and the dynamics of your kids and how your kids are being raised by doing the illegal shit that they've been doing. I mean, what a hell of a fucking manipulation. I mean, well, I mean, and that's the other thing. And I think that video covered so much. Well, we're going a little bit everywhere tonight. Listen, we've got a lot to cover, and we've got some great case news for you guys to share out there that's going to blow your mind. What's on the books and what will affect people that are currently going through cases now. It will change your case completely. Trust me. This is something we found out, we've dug out, we've confirmed, and we're going to break it here on the show. And we're hoping to have maybe another special guest possibly pop up. We'll see if that person can make it this evening. And we'll deal with another topic. If not, we'll deal with it later. But we've got plenty of time here. But the manipulation part, I think, is focusing in on the manipulation. Now, you and I have both seen, I mean, family members and teachers and everybody kind of manipulate people, or even CPS and CAC workers with, can you get a prize? Can you get a toy? But at the same time,
part one, yeah.
Isn't that considered a grooming technique as well?
Yes. Grooming is more or less, a lot of manipulation goes into grooming. Mm-hmm.
So giving children gifts and this and that and snacks and all these other things before you go to ask them a bunch of questions and all these promises. Hey, if you give me what I want, you get all, and it's the same thing in all the CAC. I've talked to a lot of parents, and that is so typical. And then they're begging their community. We have injured children. This is the thing we do in our area. And oh my gosh, and we need toys and candies. And you look at the stuff they're giving those kids. How healthy is that shit they're giving kids?
It's not.
That the donations are. It's poison.
Mm-hmm.
It's poison.
Yeah.
Red dye 40, this in here, yellow number 1, all that. I mean, manipulation. Here, I'm eating clean at my house. I come to you, my kids are poisoned with the food, which we're already dealing with in, the new administration of
Yes.
that. Now, there's a hell of a fucking manipulation. Let me manipulate your food or be the only country in the world. And this blew my mind when I found this out. We're the only country in the world that adds shit to our food and our drinks and says, we're going to leave it in there until you prove it's bad for you. Whereas in Europe and other countries, other places, they turn around and say, no, it's got to be fully tested and everything else to make sure it's safe. America's the only one with your food. And that's why we have all this shit in there.
Yeah, they took freedom to a whole nother level there. Just saying.
Well, and here's the thing. All these major companies, this is what kills me. All these major companies, including American-found companies like McDonald's. I'm going to put it out there. There's one of them. Burger King, all those other things. They can't serve the same meat and everything else here in America and in any other country.
No, they cannot.
They can't cook their oil. The oils that we use here with the seed oils, that's not allowed in any other country.
No.
So, I mean, talk about manipulation. Now you talk about another thing, and usually manipulation comes a lot with a narcissist, isn't it? And I mean, not to go into specifics, but I know you've had a couple recent, there it is. Yeah. Dealing with something that
manipulation. Yeah. They hit pretty much every one of those. And it can vary in degrees depending on how close they are to you in your life and how much influence they have in your life.
Here, there we go.
But yeah, all those 5 steps of manipulation that video showed, narcissists, but narcissists are not the only ones.
No,
they're
not.
They're just one group of people. I've seen people who are bipolar use it. I've seen just your normal, average, everyday person use it. This is where boundaries are so important. It's harder to manipulate somebody who has really strong boundaries. It's harder to manipulate somebody who stands strong for what they believe is right.
And usually they get little, and we're going to have a little fun with this. Then that's when they tag those people as being people like, what do people call me?
Oh, you're an asshole. But we know
exactly. Because I have boundaries.
Yes, you do.
And I have absolutes. And I refuse to compromise them in my own home and in my own peace.
Correct.
That's what all of you are supposed to be doing and working together to have that peace. But you're being drugged. It's not all your fault. Listen to me. You're being drugged. You're being given stuff from all these other things and stuff like that are affecting your brain chemistry. And it's being proven out there now and it's being revealed.
Sometimes
you're being manipulated by your environment, your food, and what you're seeing and everything else. And here's the issue. Here's the biggest manipulation that we have today. And I want you, and we're going to go down this rabbit hole. You and I are going to love this rabbit hole, guys. The biggest manipulation we have today is we're being sold ideology as reality. It's not we're being taught an ideology through this internet and all this in this magnificent world where keyboard warriors and there's no consequence, no face to freedoms and this and that versus your true reality of what is around us.
So
they're not the same.
opinions over facts, kind of. Is that where you're going with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, opinions over facts, but the psychological manipulation of it. How
Oh
many of
yeah.
you were dealing with a bunch of stuff or have drama? I mean, this went on before this with, and you all are going to laugh when I put this together. Is a lot of women, like when TV came out and this and that, and then a lot of them were stay-at-home moms. That was the age of the soap operas because there was nothing better on, and it was nothing but drama and sappy and so
Terrible.
extreme, and the acting was so bad. It was so over everything, like so extreme on every single way. But you were being taught, and then you go into the pressure with advertising and everything else to come out there, and they sell you something, right? Hey, just drink this drink or do this, you'll be thin, or you'll do this or you'll do that, and all these other things. And they're just advertising, but advertising is a form of manipulation, is it not?
Yes, actually, they use a lot of psycho manipulation in advertising in a lot of ways. Yes.
Now, what is the number one thing in advertising? What sells the most?
What sells the most,
What
or
sells
what do
something
they
the most?
advertise the most?
No, well, this goes, it was same hand in hand. What sells the best?
Perfection.
Sex. Sex is the number one advertising tool to either make you desire sex or
Mm-hmm.
feel sexy about yourself or to improve your attractability to the opposite sex.
Yeah, I guess that's where I was kind of going with that thought. Yep.
Through that. So that constant pounding of manipulation with everywhere you go, we're going to talk about sensory things, okay? Sensory wise, visually, we're seeing billboards advertising all the time. You make the connection, you see a sign, you're going to think of the jingle with some of them. I mean, it's the way that they did that. It's a form of manipulation. And at the same time, we go, what do I want for dinner? Well, that jingle comes in. Well, this and that. We weren't those people. We'd sing the stupid jingle, but there ain't no way in hell I needed those damn places. I'm just saying, cute jingles. I mean,
I don't know.
but we learned
Liberty
a lot,
Mutual are the
nevertheless.
ones that get stuck in my head.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some great advertising, and some of it was stupid. And unfortunately, and I hate to tell it, is when Dell came out, and Dell had this sponsor, and he was just this hippie kid and went overboard. Once again, no responsibility, nothing to do with money management, none of the crazy stuff. And what did he figure on? Hey, I've got money now, I can make more money. And that's not the focus, I think, of. There's the number one manipulation for the family in our lives. There is our work and what we have, and everything else doesn't matter. It's our families that matter. It's our kids.
Uh-oh. I think you froze. I don't know. Can you all hear me? I don't know if it's just him or if we all froze. Anybody out there? Can you all hear me? Okay. Hi. I don't know what is going on. His internet has been such an issue lately, and this has been happening a lot. So, I'll do my best to carry on here. So, we were kind of going on with this idea of manipulation and how we find it in our everyday lives, and the boundaries that go along with trying to avoid manipulation. And he usually kind of directs these because I know he likes to go certain directions. So I don't know. If you guys have questions, you can always pop them in the comments and we can try to answer them. I'm not as good at this as he is, so I'm sure he'll pop back in at some point. Yes, probably, Jonathan. I think that he's kind of come under some notice along the way, unsurprisingly. And who knows? It does seem rather odd. Hi, are you back?
Sorry, guys. I got completely whacked, and they keep doing this to me.
We were just discussing this.
Funny how I started talking about you don't need money, and that's when they cut me.
Right.
Well, we used to have an old-fashioned way of doing things called trading. We never needed, if we needed something, you had this and this one has this, we just evened out, so we were both happy and we traded. It's a misconception of the Great Depression, of a lot of it. A lot of people, the problem was is crops weren't growing. Had nothing to do with anything else. We had land, we were eating, we were surviving, we were living our lives. It was the industrial part that was doing, and they over traded things. But there's a lot to that, but there's a lot of manipulation out there, that's just freaking crazy. I mean, and we've been going through it as a nation. you know the money that's been spent, the people that have been robbed. I mean, everybody's waking up to this. So how do we, I mean, the number one thing is setting boundaries, right? So what do you do when the manipulations are revealed and those people start getting. Now let's talk about that. What happens when you call out somebody for manipulating you? What are their responses?
Oh, well, they can vary, and it depends on who you're talking to, too. Some people do it, and they're not realizing they're doing it. Maybe it's a tactic they learned from somebody else, or it's just a toxic trait they picked up in another relationship, and it happens. It does. Some people you can call out and they'll immediately be like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was doing that. That's terrible. I will change what I'm doing. Other people, however, you will become their worst enemy. They will attack you. They will call you names. They will decide that you
Kill
are.
the hell out of you. Pull up all the shit they can in the past.
They will. They can threaten you. I've been threatened by some manipulators here and there. They'll threaten. They'll fight back. They will call you names. They will treat you like dirt. These are people that you definitely don't want to keep in your life. And it looks like he froze again, of course. So just to kind of go along with that, hopefully you all can still hear me. You froze again.
This thing's in and out. I'm telling you guys, it's just messing with me. Bear with me, but Sharon knows where to pick up the pieces.
I'm doing my best over
camera. Hold on, because you froze up on my side. I don't know if it's been doing this to Darren too. Like I said, on shows, you'll get on there and somebody will freeze. And it's like, but I can see you in the back room, your camera, and I can see you moving and stuff. So it's like, that's annoying.
It's because you're calling them out. They don't like it.
Listen, we've had social workers look at this stuff and other people look at this stuff. And I mean, our viewer count is just through the roof. We've had great numbers. We have great stuff on case law. We guys, that's a big thing for you guys to help us out there. Get the word out, get people that are going through this or anything else to get on the show and watch. And I know there's a lot of people here that we just see a lot of the stuff on the YouTube side. We don't get the numbers till later. That's, we do cross posts in other places. I think it's, Twitter or not Twitter, Twitch. I think there's a Twitch account or two and a couple other things. So I know there's Facebook. It's on Facebook. A lot of you guys that follow on Facebook, thank you guys. If you want to comment and actually be part of the show, join our YouTube channel. hit like and follow on there, and then you can catch up, and then you can get notified of all the any of the live shows or anything that's part of the CPS Breaking News Network. Any show that you do, you can put on notifications. Yeah. It's a great way to keep up, like I said. And guys, you are not going to want to take, and one day you're going to end up getting probably something in the middle of the day and going, wait a minute, that's not his time. He ain't supposed to be on. You will want to tune in for that show. Trust me. Trust me, you will. Yeah. Now I want to show, I know we've got some things, and I wanted to show you this, and this blew my mind. This is CPS. Before, this is the Presley Hardwick versus Marcy Rankin case law. Okay, this is case law. This is the Supreme Court in the district in California. And I want you to listen to now I want you to watch this, because you and we're going to talk about the manipulation that they're trying to get away with and make it legal manipulation and stuff. This is going to blow your mind. And like I said, just watch. This is nuts.
Good morning. May it please the court. My name is Pansy Lynn, and I'm here.
Drinking warm water before bed helps reverse aging skin while you sleep. Apparently, thousands of women are.
Come on. Back to the beginning. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. May it please the court. My name is Pansy Lynn, and I'm here today on behalf of appellants and defendants in the underlying matter, Marcy Rankin, Elaine Wilkins, and Helen Drojak by and through her estate. If I could reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal. Thank you. The facts underlying this case are many and sordid, and I won't go through them all here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. And but I will summarize that there was a divorce. The divorce was followed by a raging custody battle, which ultimately led us into juvenile dependency court, wherein in those proceedings, the custody of 2 daughters was ordered removed by the juvenile dependency court from their mother. These 2 daughters were Kendall and Presley Hardwick. Presley Hardwick is the plaintiff in the underlying action and the appellee here. Fundamentally, this appeal presents 2 issues, whether the individual defendants were entitled to qualified immunity for their actions, and whether they were entitled to absolute immunity for their actions, or for the actions that they are being sued for.
Are you seriously pressing absolute immunity? It wasn't pressed at all in the state. Are you serious about that, or are you going to waste time with it?
I am serious. I certainly would not bring an argument to this court that I'm not serious about. I am serious about the argument, because there are fundamentally acts for which our defendants are being sued, these social workers are being sued, that I believe come squarely within absolute immunity. I understand that qualified immunity is the issue here for substantively the removal pursuant to the court order of. Why
don't you go to qualified immunity?
Of course, Your Honor.
We have your briefs on absolute.
Thank you, Your Honor. In terms of qualified immunity, as this court is aware, it's a two-prong analysis. The first being whether there is a constitutional rights violation that has been alleged, and the second prong being whether the constitutional right was clearly established, such that our government actors know without doubt that what they are doing would be a violation of the law. The court is entitled to take these prongs in any order it perceives, and here, typically when we have the qualified immunity analysis and whether the law is clearly established, it is typically plaintiff's burden to come forward to this court and say, here is the case law. This is what tells the state actors, the government actors, that they should have known better. It's clearly set forth in this case law. In our matter here, it's interesting because the reverse has actually happened. This court has actually found that as of the date of the underlying conduct here in 2000, when
you talk about Kostanich?
That is correct.
Kostanich deals with foster care licenses and guardians, not natural children of parents.
Kostanich deals with the underlying liberty interest of a 14th Amendment claim, which is the
For
same.
foster
For
parents,
foster
though.
parents.
That is true. A guardianship.
And guardianship, not natural parents. It seems to me that as early as the 1940s, the United States Supreme Court has held that there is an absolute liberty interest, a fundamental liberty interest that parents have in the care, custody, and control of their children. That's been on the books forever. I have a whole bunch of Supreme Court cases I can read from. That's just going to waste a lot of time. They have that fundamental constitutional right. And it cannot be impaired without due process of law.
And where the qualified immunity analysis and the clearly established law plays into this is, do we have case law that tells us that?
No. You've read Help versus Pelzer. There doesn't have to be case law. There can be other ways of showing that it's clearly established. Case law is not an absolute requirement.
It is.
Have you read Hope versus Pelzer and all the other cases that talk about that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Listen,
Okay,
guys,
there does not
listen.
have to be a case on all fours.
You're correct. There
Correct.
does not have to
Okay.
be a case on all fours.
Right. What isn't clearly established here?
The fact that what Costanza says, what's not been clearly established in the year 2000 when this removal occurred was the idea that the right to be free from deliberately fabricated evidence in civil child abuse proceedings that result in the deprivation of a protected liberty interest, the same liberty interest that's at issue.
But it's not the same liberty interest, because this was a parental liberty interest.
It's a biological versus foster.
That's huge. That's gigantic in terms of what somebody could appreciate and understand. How in the world could a person in the position of, we have to take the facts as they're pleaded in the light most favorable, so, we're not trying the case. But how could a person in the shoes of your clients possibly believe that it was appropriate to use perjury and false evidence in order to impair somebody's liberty interest in the continued care, custody, and control of that person's children? How could they possibly not be on notice that you can't do that?
I understand the.
How could that possibly be?
I understand the argument that it seems to be common sense and our ethical.
It's more than common sense. It's statutes that prohibit perjury and submission of false evidence in court cases.
State statutes.
Are you telling me that a person in your client's shoes couldn't understand you can't commit perjury in a court proceeding in order to take somebody's children away?
Of course not, Your Honor.
Of course not.
Then isn't the case over then?
But the case is over.
Because
Costanich is distinguishable in my view. How in the world Costanich deals with a secondary care, foster care? That's a whole strange thing. It's not a person's
See how they
real
want to lump you
real
together
child.
the same as foster parents?
Even
They don't
if
care. They don't
Costanich-
identify.
And guardians, the same thing.
even if Costanich is distinguishable, there is.
This is how to get in shape fast.
If you want to drop this, start eating more of these.
All right, guys. Wow. I mean, the judge, that's the difference between, and that's a federal court of appeals is what that was. I believe Ninth Circuit. That's the Supreme Court of the United States. That's that courtroom right there of appeals. And they're all coming together. What the fuck are you thinking? We got to have case law. We got to have this. There's the fucking Constitution, is what he's saying. How do you think that you're not under this? It blows his mind, let alone, did you hear the part? They wanted to pay people that were actors to come lie on the stand for them to get kids away. They admitted doing it.
I mean, have you missed the whole part where they think that they're above the law? Because they all act like they're above the law.
100%. And that's the big thing that's just, that's killing me. And, here's the other thing. We've been going down some rabbit holes, for you guys. And I want you guys to, and it's just blowing my mind with, some of this stuff is saying, and I want you to come over this stuff and I want you to listen a little bit of this. And this is some of the things that we're going to talk about. And this is constitutional thing of manipulation. Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2 explicitly grants the Supreme Court original jurisdictions in cases in which a state shall be a party. Guys, how many of your child services things say the state of or department of versus you? They don't have jurisdiction. Their representative, did you hear her the word she said? Actors. If you have a case that is against the state or the state actors, your local judge doesn't have jurisdiction because Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2 grants that specifically to the Supreme Court as the original jurisdiction in cases in which a party in which the state shall be a party, which means the state is involved in litigation. The case cannot originate directly in the Supreme Court without first being overheard by the lower courts. Yes, but this escalates it because the state is ruling on something that benefits itself. Oh,
there you
see
go.
the manipulation there? It's unconstitutional. Now, you're going to look at a couple different things, and some of the arguments to hear, and this is where I love history. I love history so much, baby. And you know I do. But when you go down the rabbit hole and you go back to the original argument of why things were stated the way they were in a lot of these things, you have to go back to, they say, well, how do we know what the founding fathers thought or what was their ways of thinking? This is why the Federalist Papers can exist. Because we get, and this is why you need to teach your children the history and where those things are to understand what they were thinking, why we have a First Amendment, why we have a Second Amendment, and those backdoor arguments. And a lot of those things, too, they weren't found in, not necessarily, I don't think it was the Federalist Papers, and you have to forgive me. But at the same time, we've all heard that whole thing of separation of church and state. That goes to there. Well, there's a law on this, that was a letter.
Yeah.
There's no law on that. No, there's no thing of that. Why? Because we're all connected to our religion, our creator. That's why they're called inalienable rights, God-given rights, which is the Bill of Rights.
Correct.
And you're being manipulated by an organization and people to say those rights no longer exist, even to the point of some states saying your state has given up your rights over to an organization. And for you to turn around and say, well, that doesn't happen. Yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah, it does. It does. It really does.
But I mean, what did you think about the woman are trying to argue to legitimize or justify? Did you hear all the manipulation she was trying to do to the judge? And just the judge shot her down. Bam.
I mean, she was paid for it. Attorneys are like really good. They're trained in manipulation, to be honest. So they have their own special techniques.
Exactly. And there's a lot of things that I think people are going to begin to understand, especially as things go on, that you've got to. Wendy, I see you on there. We've got so much packed in this show. We'll have to schedule something for another time. We're just so short on time today, and we got a lot to cover. But get with us. Go ahead in the comments if you've got some of that stuff, something that you need to share. Please share it in the comments the best you can. I appreciate it. And understand too, guys, that if we do have guests on the show, we do have a proper protocol we go through. We have a pre-screening process. One, our producers take and make sure that certain guidelines or we stay on topic of this and that. That does happen. This is not a free range show to where willy-nilly goes on and just random people pop on and just things go. We have talks with our guests. We let them know there are boundaries and to stay in between these parameters and keep it on that particular thing because we have a lot to cover and we don't need to get down too many rabbit holes too quick. And that's to keep you guys informed and keep you guys going. I'm fully aware that we're going to do accountable criminally. There's a lot to this. There's a lot that, like I said, this was sent to me, like I said, from a couple of our advocates, this and that. Guys, we're sharing a lot of information with advocates, and we share a lot of information, but also understand too. And I know, and this kind of hits home, and I know that I'm kind of breaking this on you, but I know you had to deal with some kids tonight and everything, so we didn't have a whole lot of time before the show. We were hoping to have Malibu Dallas on the show tonight briefly, because Malibu Dallas is under attack because they have a person that is actually giving false information to authorities, saying that he is one practicing law without a license, and that is not true. He has always been an advocate. He's always done those things. There's even rumors that he's trying to hose people and take their money and all those other things. And I can tell you, both me and Sharon can both tell you that's an absolute damn lie.
Yes.
Because we both know Dallas. Dallas helped us out tremendously with a lot of research and kind of getting us in a few directions. And even when it came to a certain time, Dallas even referred us to an attorney. So for that accusation, he's practicing law as an attorney is a bunch of crap. He's an advocate. They're very legal. They're legal to be. They're there to share information for information purposes. He never has claimed to do that. And for you to say because he's created a few templates or something like that, well, that's that. No, because half of you lawyers out there, and you all know it. And if you want, I'll give it to Dallas too. You guys are using programs and you're buying them offline too, and you're just filling them in because you're not drafting your own stuff. I know all the tricks. It's bullshit. The person coming up with this is bullshit.
Or they're hiring people to do it for them.
and we're just going to tell you, like I said, we're not going to talk any further in this other than we know from personal experience of what's going on. We're not connected to a certain part of it. All we can say is ours came from a different perspective. It wasn't what somebody thought it was, and so on and so forth. But once the truth comes out, I guarantee you everybody that's involved in this will be cleared and the record will be set straight. Matter of fact, you'll kind of get a kick out of a few other things when we're able to show you that this attorney did or produced. Quite a joke. Alone, how many inaccuracies were in there? Factual inaccuracies, and was turned over as a usable product.
So many.
That's a lie. That's a lie, because we can point it all out. So
yeah.
There's much more to that. And guys, we're in deep because we're in the fight. We're in the trenches. We're searching for a way to do what we did. That's what put us behind schedule, probably over 9 months compared. And you guys will understand, like I said, here sooner than later. I know both Sharon and I are both excited of what's getting ready to happen. There's a lot of people that know what's getting ready to happen or have an inkling. We're excited because you guys are going to be really surprised. It's going to blow your mind, and it's going to wake this nation up 100%. But listen, guys, we've got a couple others. I know. Let me play. Let's see here. We've got a couple more. I know you had some great videos to mental health, and here's Jordan Peterson. Let's talk about malevolence. But let's see this quick clip real quick, and then we'll talk about this.
It's no joke to encounter malevolence. It can really shake you. But the idea would be that if you can face the malevolence and you can face the suffering, then that opens the door to your maximal potential. And then the optimistic part of that is, and this is why it's so useful to peer into the darkness, let's say. The optimistic part of that is that although the suffering is great and the malevolence is deep, your capacity to transcend it is stronger. So what you get out of the most negative viewpoint is the most positive possible consequence. Because one of the things you'd like to know, if you wanted to know something deep about yourself, is that you could face the worst that there was and prevail. And I believe that yes. People are capable of that. I think that despite how tragic life is and how malevolent things are, that fundamentally our spirit, let's say, has the capacity to confront that and to fix it, like psychologically, so to confront it courageously, to be able to bear up under that if you do it voluntarily, but also to address it. not only to deal with it psychologically, but to deal with it practically, and that we can make things much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow,
So,
I love hearing him. I love hearing what he says a lot, man.
Seriously, I want to have him over for dinner. I think we'd have an absolutely fabulous conversation.
Dinner or anything. I mean, he's going to have to come over for lunch and stay through dinner.
I know, right?
We'll have that conversation, because I could sit and talk with somebody about that, of the effects. And there's the beautiful thing about getting people like that to have, and there's what we're missing, is intellectual conversation amongst each other to build each other up and share information to make each other better.
Yes.
And I think that's one of our goals of this show here, is to make sure you guys have got some of the tools that we've learned. And listen, we don't know it all. There's the other thing, but there's a lot we can show you for your journey and where you're at, and understanding we went through all that pain. But understand this too: hard times make hard people. Doesn't make for soft people to be pushed around. Even though we're going through this, these are hard times. But when we get on the other side of that, you're going to have some hard people and some really pissed off people.
Yeah. Yes,
But
Jordan
once again, we're
Peterson is
not
Canadian.
well, and understanding too, self-control is the other thing that he's talking about with that thing. Can you imagine that? I mean, what he's talking about, Jordan Peterson's talking about, is what we're experiencing with CPS and the things they're doing to our families. And we feel so overwhelmed and just so much evil on us and everything else, knowing this isn't the way this is supposed to be. And this is not the country that, it's supposed to be. And we're not living right. And this is so illegal. And how can they do this? And that's what we're having to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah.
But what does that say to the human spirit that he talks about?
We
were made to overcome. I mean, he was saying we were made to overcome.
We are.
I mean, that just blows my mind. I mean, but how hard is it? I mean, even for you every day. I know what it is for me, but you guys, even out there in the audience, how hard is it going through every day, living a life the way it's not even supposed to be? And it's not supposed to be this way. It sucks. I mean, tell them.
It is.
Well, once again, you're enduring that. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, and how we overcome. And the thing is we feel alone.
We can.
A lot.
Yeah. That's part of it. I think alone. There's a lot of us out here. But I definitely feel, and that's one of the parts of the manipulation, is this going through a situation like what all of us have gone through. It's very isolating. Your family doesn't understand you. Your friends don't understand you.
Wait. Did you just say isolating? Didn't that video say that's what manipulators will do?
That's what I just said, yes.
Oh. I was pointing it out. I'm pointing it. That's
it is. It's
all there.
It's one of them. And a person in isolation, I mean, like, think about that. Like, animals in the wild, like, you get them isolated,
right.
They're vulnerable, right? As people, we are community. We are built for community. Isolation is not good for us. And going through a CPS situation is extremely isolating. It's very harmful to people's psyche.
They divide you, manipulate. Oh, yeah.
It's really
Mario,
hard.
go ahead and ask your question in the comments. Sure, let's go through some of the manipulation tactics. What were some of the manipulation tactics you've seen as the woman, the mom, and everything else through your experience of the CPS workers, the child advocacy workers, these people that are saying we're here to protect the children, to save the children, and this and that? I mean, they even try to coerce you even into committing a Class C felony, which is giving up your kids in front of a sheriff's deputy. I mean, and nobody did nothing. And this is okay?
They actually started with trying to make me feel guilty about the whole thing. Like, basic textbook number one, like, you should feel horrible for what your children have been through. And I'm just like, it's your fault. Kind of basically, I'm like, I have nothing to feel guilty over, so I don't make you question your own sanity and be like, well, don't you know, because of this, and you literally will sit there and question yourself for a minute, like, did I miss something? Am I forgetting something?
Yeah.
Like, have I been manipulated and I don't know it? Like, it's actually kind of really scary to go through. Like,
Yeah. And well, and then
no,
the other
Mario,
thing you
I'm
go
a
with is
pineapple
you
on
remove
pizza all the way. Just saying.
what? You're not putting pineapple. Come on. Hey man, I'm there with you. She's from California. I'm from
Pineapple
Southside
all
Chicago, man. Bring
the
the
way.
meats, man, baby. She's got all the fruit and everything else going on. I give her crap about that
You throw
all the
some
time.
avocados on there
But
too.
listen here, man. That's culture, man, and that's the beauty. Find your own taste. We're supposed to be doing that. Is the best of America and the melting pot and putting things together and having your own creations of food. I've only got one complaint for Americans is one, damn you people, because corned beef and cabbage is not an Irish dish. It's an American dish. It is not an Irish dish. And St. Patty's Day, well, I'm going to have this, that. That's not an Irish dish. I'm like, dude, they were peasants.
And there it goes again. Yeah, I am a huge avocado fan. I've never actually put it on my pizza, but I tease him those.
Everything had a lot of potatoes, or if you were lucky.
There he goes again.
Sorry.
It's no joke to encounter malevolence.
Hold on, it's
it can really shake.
Everything's here. And I'm here. Guys, we're having technical difficulties. Are you fading? Okay, hold on. Anyway, sorry guys, we've got some connections issues, and like I said, I faded out. I think she faded out. Let me bring her back out. Maybe it'll refresh. You got a better area? I can see it. Oh, there we go with the thing. You're froze on my screen, but in the background. Gotta love technology. They don't want this stuff out. But listen, there's a lot of manipulation out there that we're seeing all the time, even being done by our governments and other people. I mean, we're going to come to find out a lot of this stuff that we've known as our reality is not supposed to be, because we've been manipulated, because we've been attacked, and we've been entertained, and we've got states that are doing things that are unconstitutional. And the whole thing is they're strutting on, well, states' rights and states' independence. It doesn't matter. You're part of your statehood required, and even your own Constitution says you must defer back to the Constitution of the United States of America. It's the only law of the land. And here's the other thing I'm going to tell you guys. They're trying to get, and this is something we were going to deal with Dallas, because the idea is they were saying that he was practicing law without a license. How is that possible when states don't have laws? You have codes and statutes, and you better go find, and whoever accused him of that, I'm going to call you out, because you need to go get a copy of Black's Law Dictionary. And there's a difference between a code, a statute, and a law. And a code and a statute is not a law.
Correct.
How can you practice law when you're not practicing law? Please explain that.
Well, it makes no sense anyways.
No.
If you can take a court case pro se, then there shouldn't be any such thing as practicing law without a license. This doesn't make any sense.
If anything, he's a parents' right advocate, as well as a pro se sui juris advocate.
Exactly.
There is room in the Constitution for that. And a state cannot take and make a law, or a bar association make a law that is beyond the power of the Constitution. They don't have the power. Laws are made in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of this is contract law. That doesn't go for this. Listen, all rules, regulations, and codes are for the government only, the government people. That's the things that restrain them, not for the common people, because it lacks due process, which makes it unconstitutional, and it's unconstitutional. That's on the record. That's never been overturned. That's never nothing. There's codes on this.
Mm-hmm.
It never happens. But like I said, all the manipulation we've gone through, and now we're coming on the other side of that manipulation to where now we're finding out the truth. And that's going to hurt. So let me show this other video, and this is the one you sent, that's going to talk about this, because this is going to cause another condition that we're going to have to deal with.
People who have post-traumatic stress disorder don't have it because they were hurt. They have it because they encountered someone who wanted to hurt them, right? And so it was that glimpse of that malevolence that fractured them. It was, people can go through all sorts of horrible things and not be traumatized. You know, a terrible illness, terrible pain, an accident. You wait till you tangle with someone who's malevolent. Boy, you will not be the same person afterward, assuming you manage to put yourself back together at all. Your problem is you've seen into the heart of darkness. That's your problem. And just blew you into pieces. You're gazing into the face of malevolence itself. You have to develop a philosophy of good and evil. It's a religious philosophy, essentially, because a philosophy of good and evil is a religious philosophy. Those are the same thing. And then you have to understand how you combat that. How do you combat evil? With truth, with love, with beauty. You have to start to embody that. Is there anything more fundamental than pain? Really? If you're in pain, love and truth, that's what you got.
Your family, love, and truth is all you've got in this life that matters.
And if you've been through something with CPS, I can almost 100% guarantee you probably have CPTSD because of the way that these situations are handled, the litigation abuse that happens to us, the fact that children are being removed from their parents and vice versa. Like, this is trauma, you guys. And
yeah,
unfortunately, it gets overlooked a lot for some of us because we are told that it's our fault. We are told that it is something must have happened for them to even get involved. Well, that's just not always true. And to have somebody come in and just tear your family apart like that, I mean, that is true trauma right there. So
and on top of it too, especially in cases with mental health issues where they're being treated and they completely ignore that. And then they go forward with this whole thing, hoping everything's going to work out. And then, they manipulate, forensic interviews to where, hey, we have time to disappear for, 2-3 hours. We got plenty of time to coach the kid, the whole thing. Well, that's legal to do. No, according to the National Standards for Accreditation for Child Advocacy Centers, all interactions between children and parents are to be retained or held on to, including video evidence. That right? Until the youngest child is of the age of 19.
Supposedly,
so somebody actually has an issue with every 15 days because it covers their crimes. And we know all about it, and they're not the only one.
Mm-hmm.
This is habitual thing of broke video systems. Well, we can't afford. Do you know how much a child advocacy center gets in supplemental and Title 4D funding, or 4D and 4E? Why? Because if they're in that system, they automatically have to have counseling, right? Why do you think they push you back to? And here's the other thing: most of those CAC centers are nonprofit; they're privately owned.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the state CPS throwing work and benefiting one particular company. Here's the other thing. It's the only one around, right? But it's a private business, right?
Yeah.
I thought monopolies were illegal in this country. Oh,
my personal
but we
experience is
just
that
got
they are
one to go with.
helpful as
They
well.
are worthless. If you want help and something's happened, go to not some 20-year-old, kid or this or that. If it's a real thing, you know who you need help from, a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist that can deal with mental health conditions that you're dealing with and possibly even prescribe medications. If you don't want the medications, that's a psychologist. Now, I'm correct in saying that, babe?
Yes,
Got it right?
psychiatrists are the ones can do medication. Psychologists do not. You can go to a therapist. Unfortunately, a pattern has been emerging where therapists will overlook and not acknowledge PTSD for something like this because it is what it is. So that's
And
you're gonna have
then
to
the
shop
real
around
kicker.
probably.
Well, then the real kicker is some of them, they paint these stories, and this is how they do this, is they get to manipulate these kids and coach them and everything else and put them before a forensic interview and give them toys and give them food and give them all these prizes if they cooperate, and then talk to them beforehand and then delete the evidence and then take them into a room and then testify. And this is a horrific thing. But then you get down to the hard evidence of you do things, and this is always funny, is medical evidence when the exams and stuff like that are done, and they look and they say, the child has never been touched, therefore making you, with thinking common sense, the story's bullshit. Nope, that's good enough for them. And you know what? They'll destroy your family off that because they don't go for evidence. If all this was true, and then it was found, well, bits and pieces and this and that. Here's the other thing. Then they don't provide a child or anybody else to come in there and say, oh, well, there's things for it. And I go, you have a right, no matter what a state says, to face your accuser on the stand. 100%.
You should.
And a judge they're supposed to be adequate enough to hear that. The second part is when you have a felony, like give you an example, a felony charge, and this is the fun one they like to do too, is they do it in civil court and say, well, they're allowed to do that. Yeah, but even in even in a civil trial that's felony, requires a trial by jury. How many of you got that? Now, the other big thing is, and this is, and like I said, we promise you guys, hold on. We have got big news. Don't go anywhere. Trust me, you're going to love what's coming up. We've just got a little bit more, and I guarantee you're going to love what we're going to find. But this is the type of thing, after you go through this is where you end up with this type of attitude. And I love this speaker. Not everybody does. But let's watch this guy and why his attitude is this. This is a guy who's probably gone through a whole lot of traumas, but this is a guy that's seen some shit. Okay. And now you understand why these people are like that. But let's watch this clip. And you may not like him, but I want you to listen to him.
But would you like your kids to turn out like your fucking bums that you chill with, that you fucking hang with? Fucking bums. I know the answer to that too. And you can't blame your parents or grandparents, only but indirectly, because you chose those 5 mates. Nobody chose those cocksuckers but you. And you chose them because you had no self-esteem, no self-confidence whatsoever.
Guy spoke some hard truths, man. Hard truths. I mean, you may not like him, but you got to admit, that guy didn't lie. You put yourself in this own boat, you're going to have to take some accountability. You've been manipulated. Guess what? You've been manipulated. Learn from it. Don't get manipulated again. This is what part of this is being able to identify all these manipulations that we're seeing of saying, How do we not let that happen? Quit getting in the ideological world. Sorry, a little tongue tied there. And let's get into the reality of things of our real world, because we're being distracted while our real world is being taken over. We were entertained. We have everything in this country you possibly could ever want or buy, just about. We are very, very, very much well off. I mean, I know you've been to other countries, this and that, compared to America. What's the difference? I mean, we don't do that as Americans. We don't go to other third world countries. And some people that do, they think we should live just like them, or they have it simple, so they're going to force it here that we should live like that. But once again, that's a manipulation.
It depends on where you go.
Well, like for what? Give an example. Name some of the places you've been and the things you've seen compared to California. I mean, when you went back and forth and went home.
Well, I mean, I've been to Tijuana, and that's a slum, but I think it's purposefully a slum. I mean, every country has its slums. Like every place has its other side of the tracks, places that you don't go, ghettos, whatever you want to call them. Everywhere has them.
And listen, here's the form of manipulation that we've been told. And I'm going to say it. Those people are ignorant. Those people are stupid. Those people are not worth the time to do anything. And that's what they want to make a lot of people believe. But they're just as human as we are. The thing is they're not being given the opportunities when they found out. And here, I'm going to say it. Back when Martin Luther King and stuff was and Malcolm X and everything else, you know what some of the governments wanted to do? We'll make sure they never rise up again, because we can't have that happen again. That people are coming together, and they split and destroyed the American black family by doing what they did and incentivizing. It was more profitable to be on welfare and do some of those things, or so damn poor, the only other alternative to make money was to do it illegally. There was no hope. Everything was taken. They shut the jobs down. There were black-owned businesses in these inner cities: Atlanta, Gary, Indiana, Memphis, Tennessee. They have a history of a beautiful place that once was there, but once they found out, they destroyed those economies on purpose. That was a manipulation by the government, and you can look it up. And no, I'm not saying anything, well, then they owe us. No, they've been manipulating all of us. They found a way to get a hold of all of us. Middle income, low income, what? They didn't educate you. You know how many children now that are graduating high school that can't even read the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution in the original format?
Correct.
Why do they hate homeschoolers so much? What do you teach?
Everything we can under the sun. We definitely teach cursive. We teach history. We teach the Constitution.
Oh, wait a minute.
We teach life skills.
If you can't sign your name, this is the other thing. If you can't sign your name, or unable to sign your name, or what they used to call your John Hancock, you can't legally contract with anybody. Now you have to go through another person to legally contract, because you can't, because you don't know how to sign it. It's not a legal document. That's the whole thing with the auto pen, the power of your signature. They went through, there's no copy, and it has to be original, and it cannot be print. Why? Because anybody can do that. That's why you have the cursive. It turns into a calligraphy, the form or the format, the fats of this and that. Your personalized signature is unique to where even the FBI and things around the handwriting analysis around the world, they're not the same. And if you do get somebody to do it, it's never perfect. There's always one imperfection. They always tell you, and it's very, 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 very rare to have somebody that's that good to forge your signature for every point to where they can't tell. That's very common. But guys, okay, you've waited enough. I'm going to blow your mind. The biggest issue they've had is Fourth Amendment violations, and the number one complaint is CPS entering the home without the warrant. Well, one, that should be a red flag for you because they're admitting to a constitutional rights violation, and they're admitting to it, and they're saying this is a huge problem, but no lawyers are taking this up to the wrong jurisdiction. This is why they shouldn't even be handling these cases, because there is a constitutional rights issue, and it should be in civil rights court. And that if there's an illegal entry without a court order, warrant, or imminent danger, and they say, well, they let me in or they did this. No. They've already got case law to cover people that say, I didn't know, or this or that. Well, they've gone one step behind to try and save this corrupt system because they've been made aware of it. And this is their answer to that problem. Ladies and gentlemen, this will blow your mind. There is now Miranda rights for CPS workers, and it is law. Watch this.
This is huge. For years, Child Protective Services investigators have taken advantage of parents' lack of awareness of their rights because there hasn't been a requirement to read any Miranda rights in CPS cases. However, lawmakers have finally done what the courts have failed to do. Under a new law, CPS investigators will now have to advise parents of certain rights upon first contact or risk all collected evidence from being automatically excluded. You've seen cops on TV, and you've seen countless YouTube videos of police making arrests. You're familiar with the traditional Miranda rights, aka Miranda warning, provided by police. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, so on and so forth. The term Miranda rights stems from a U.S. Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona, but because the term has become synonymous with criminal interrogations, we're going to run with it. Let's call them CPS Miranda rights. In a CPS case, the stakes are much higher than in a criminal case because it isn't just the parent's life at stake, but the future of the parent's children as well. Under this new law, the CPS investigator is now required to verbally read these CPS Miranda rights to the parent or alleged perpetrator upon first contact. That means, hi, I'm with CPS. Before we begin, I need to read you your rights. But these rights are far more expansive than what are provided in the typical Miranda rights provided in criminal cases. Like I said, this is huge. There are 10 CPS Miranda rights that they must read to you out loud, which are: you have the right not to speak with any agent of the department without legal counsel present. You have the right to receive assistance from an attorney. You have the right to a court-appointed attorney if you are indigent, the parent of the child, and the department files suit for conservatorship, termination of rights, or to require you to participate in services. You have the right to record any interaction or interview with the department, but you are advised that you may have to turn it over to the department, law enforcement, or another party if ordered by the court. You have the right to refuse to allow the investigator to enter the home or interview the child without a court order. You have the right to have legal counsel present before allowing the investigator to enter your home or interview the child. You have the right to withhold consent to the release of any medical or mental health records. You have the right to withhold consent to any medical or psychological examination of the child. You have the right to refuse to submit to a drug test. You have the right to consult with legal counsel prior to agreeing to any proposed voluntary safety plan. Hopefully, CPS begins to read these CPS Miranda rights immediately because it's the right thing to do. However, CPS isn't very well known for doing the right thing. Under this new law, CPS will be required to provide this information beginning September 1st, 2023, which is probably the soonest that we can expect to see them begin providing it. That's also when you can likely expect to see CPS begin providing the new and improved written summary. Before this new law, when CPS was required to give information, it was in a convoluted pamphlet and there was no deadline as to when that had to be provided. The CPS investigator will now also be required to provide this written summary of these CPS Miranda rights to the parent or alleged perpetrator upon first contact. That means, Hi, I'm with CPS.
Sounds good, right? Finally exercising and making it state statute or code that your constitutional rights are somewhat upheld.
Just because you have the right doesn't mean they're not going to bowl right over it again.
Once again, you're not accountable to it. Once again, it's too corrupt of a system. It's too far broken. There's no fixing this. It's a total gut or nothing because it won't survive because the remnants of the evil and the stuff that was going in, you realize they were doing all those things that they were pointing out. Those are all the crimes that they uncovered in Texas that were going on actively. Those are constitutional rights violations. Why didn't the state, the other thing, why didn't you take and dismiss all the cases then and return the children, Texas, when you realized that they were doing this? Why? Did you hear what he said? Why? Because it's not admissible in court. It's fruit from a poisonous tree. You're not even supposed to be in court if they break this law. Here's the other thing. Tell me when that CPS workers ever take an oath to uphold the Constitution, or let alone who weaponized them over the duties of your duly elected sheriff that says they have got that. We voted that person in. The state doesn't have the right to replace that. There's another violation. Why didn't the sheriffs go after these people that passed this? My people elected me to do this, and that's part of my job to investigate and do those things. But instead, what we're hearing that's happening, guys, is every state is telling law enforcement, both your sheriff's department and city polices, to stay out of the way of CPS and or that whole department. Now, other states are smarter because you know what they do. Some states, they actually run the whole CPS program through the state. Others subcontract it so they can have plausible deniability. If they screw up, it ain't us. We'll just find somebody else and do the same thing again. There's the trick each state has learned. Why? Because they'll get caught more often and they'll have to close a business down because they'll get caught doing the illegal stuff that they were doing. And then they got to shut them down. Well, guess what? Here comes another one. Manipulation. I mean, it's all around us, babe. I mean, you and I've talked about that. I mean, that's where it's like with us, we just want to be left alone and have our peace and have our house and eventually whatever and everything else, to basically say, just leave me alone. I don't want to be bothered. I don't need you in my life. I don't want your help. I didn't ask for it, you know, and all this other stuff. And when these people get the idea that they can overdo the Constitution to come into your house and then lie, and then it's he said, she said, and the person, not the homeowner whose home you violated, that you're going to believe, well, she, you know, so-and-so said I could come in. Have you got hard evidence? Because for last time I checked, that's called hearsay, which is where a lot of people are going, let's go to body cams for them. I said, forget the body cams. There's no crime being committed other than one they're creating. If it was a true crime, well, let's follow this. And listen, child neglect and child dependency issues,
abuse,
are considered criminal, and abuse are considered criminal codes that are in criminal court that has a trial by jury.
Correct.
They're not civil matters. Those are criminal matters. And if you're going to go through a criminal court, you have to put it in the right court, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony. It's still a criminal charge.
Correct.
And CPS says we're doing away with that. And these are state created courts. Manipulation much? Who gave you the power to create them?
I don't know. I don't even think you could call what they do investigation, because it's not even technically an investigation.
No.
It's just a...
If that's an investigation, that's the biggest joke I've ever seen in my life. And let alone to come into courtrooms and everything else I've heard from other stories with zero evidence and 100% hearsay and nothing, not a damn thing. And it's always, but this and that. But hey, never mind that they're on, schizophrenic meds or this or that, or there's other cases with other people we know, like up in Maine and stuff, to where all this psychological issue and the kid's out of control and getting CPS involved is doing more harm than good. Why? Because that kid's running wild now. They're hooking up with the boyfriend that you didn't approve of because he's convinced her to do that. And that's one of their manipulation techniques. Parents, watch your kids, because they are doing this. They are using these kids.
Yes.
And they're already in homes and they're hooking up with these girls that have families. Just leave your family, come to the home, and then we can check up. And then they get pregnant while they're in these foster homes. That's exactly how they're doing this stuff.
And you'll hear people, CPS caseworkers will say, other people will say, kids don't lie about these sorts of things. Yes, they do. They absolutely do.
Yeah.
And unless there is a solid, hard evidence to back up the claims,
right,
you're going to have a problem, because I have known multiple children to tell lies about things that will put people in prison. I have known people to go to jail off of a lie that a child told. Like, it does happen. And so we cannot keep having this idea that children are just innocent and will never now, they may not be malicious about it. They may not be have malicious intent behind it, but children do lie. And children do make mistakes, and children do cause trouble, and it happens.
That's part of them growing up and how we all went through stuff. We all had to sort through all that stuff. And you've got kids on the autism scale that can't, and kids we notice especially. And here's the funny thing. This is the irony of it. You're producing the babies that have these things of autisms because of the stuff you've been getting that the government says okay, and from your store and everything else, and the poisons you've been feeding them. That now the next generation is trying to correct that imbalance to get used to that's our normal food consumption instead of real food. It's a side effect. So the government's creating the problem and then trying to come in and say, now we want your kids, because why? Look at the tricks and the red dye 40 and everything else. And you go into the public schools, it's the same shit or worse.
Yes.
No, you can't eat that. Why are you robbing that kid of, oh, you'll have a teacher or something? I hate, listen, I've heard it. Teachers in public school, how come you control their diet and this? That's unhealthy. Kids need sugary snacks and a little bit of this every once in a while. It's good for them. Let them be a kid. You're promoting you know what the number one cause of tooth decay? Corn syrup. Sugar. Corn syrup is more detrimental to your mouth than pure sugar. Seed oils are not good for your health.
That's an entire
That's what they've been cooking this stuff in. That's what we're waking up to. Yeah.
I need to sign off. I need to go deal with the situation. So
thanks for, we'll get you going out of here and we'll kind of wrap things up. Thanks for coming on, babe.
Yeah, no worries.
Got you. Wait. Cut off. Come. Wait. What? I thought you were done. What?
I said good night, everybody.
Good night, babe. Thanks, everybody. Guys, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Our world's changing. The truth's coming out. Texas is trying to be the model state to recoup their CPS program. But what they're not telling people is they already are aware of the constitutional crimes this organization has been doing, and they're not prosecuting them. They're covering for them due to the fact that we'll just change our things and oops, and that doesn't change the fact that the state has committed a crime against us. And when did an appointed actor such as CPS that has no oath of office or anything else that's in there or any training with this, and yes, we have training, and no, let me tell you something. You want training? Go talk to, you want some real training? Real training? Go talk to the firefighters, the ambulance, the police that are there that are seeing that stuff. That's real. You're a cleanup crew. You're not even supposed to be there. That's seeing the real horrors of those things that go on. And that's when it really happens. And here's the other thing. They're boosting the numbers by doing the stuff they're doing illegally. just to get more money because they're creating the situation or the terror that our children are under attack. And if they would just leave the families alone, let us have our constitutional rights and remove all the other stuff that's on top of us, that our families could heal and live at home. But they're dividing us. They're dividing our homes. They're dividing our marriages. They're turning our kids against us, all these different things, and saying everything's okay. It doesn't matter. I mean, you've even got commercials out there of mothers saying, would you kill for your kid? Listen, go after mama's kids after there. I guarantee you're gonna get cut. You're gonna be dealt with. Whoever would say that, you should never have kids. That's my opinion. If you wouldn't be willing to die for your child, to me, that's not a mother. And fathers are fighting out there over the crap that's being pumped, that life has ups and downs, so does marriage. And it's easier to have a no contest divorce, and I'll just go find the next person, and they come to find out it's not real, it's all a lie. You're not better off. And that you were better off, but once you've turned your back, you've been manipulated to destroy what you had and what you've created. Now, there are situations to where two people should not be together. I get that, seen that. But guys, understand too, have a little patience, because we're going to start cleaning up us, America, with our food, and realize how much we've been under, and we're not as sick as what we thought. We're not. Why? By curing stuff. Do you realize RFK said they're curing schizophrenia with a carnivore diet? Yeah. Change your diet and get rid of some of these that we're taking. How many pills for schizophrenia? Coming to find out that you're having a deprivation in something, that it's being an all protein diet, that you're lacking proteins, or maybe your body is not getting enough proteins, and it's a protein deficiency that's causing a chemical reaction in the brain. Guy, it's just absolutely crazy. But that is Texas law for that CPS Miranda rights. You can look it up. It's already on the books. They must do this. I believe a lot of other states are catching up with some of this. But the problem is, it goes against their very training. It goes against every bit of it that they're actually taught to do, and everything else. And you could turn around and say, well, that's not crap. No. I've got your training manuals. I've got your training manuals that turn around and say how to coerce entry into a home. There's a whole section on it for every state. You're a liar to tell people out there that this doesn't happen. And guys, I know we're running a little late. I appreciate you guys joining us. It's been, listen, man, it's been a great show. And a lot of this has been awesome. We love sharing information and knowledge, especially in the guys that are really suffering. And I know it's not to know if you find somebody who feels that it's not worth it. It's just not worth your life. You're not alone. And the bullshit that they fed you deliberately, there's a lot of people out there that the courts have gone through, lied, manipulated, and put some really nasty things on people, but they broke the law to do it, and they violated the Constitution to do it. And that's why, yes, the Trump administration is aware of some of these things going on, but it has to happen systematically. And he's basically called them out and said, it's coming. And as soon as we get you one by one, that's how we'll get you. We're on the hunt. So, guys, stay vigil, stay cool, be there for each other. And remember, like I said, one day this all will change and we'll all look back, but we'll all be stronger for all of this. And it's going to make a difference. And guys, love you guys. Join us next week where we take and we deal with case law. And, just some awesome stuff that's going on, keeping you up to date of all the changes. I'm your host, Gunner, gunning for CPS. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Wake up, guys. And, the other thing I wanted to mention, go watch the original Batman with Michael Keaton and see how the Joker took and infected people in a whole combination. They were trying to tell us something. Yes, it's in there. Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton. Find it, watch it. It'll blow your mind. Now apply it to today. It's amazing. Guys, have a great day. Appreciate you. And we'll see you then.
Gunning for CPS off our land. For family truth with the strong hand. Time to rise, take a stand. Take a stand.